For centuries, the story of Atlantis has fascinated and mystified. A civilization of unmatched power, wealth, and wisdom. Gone in a single day and night, swallowed by the sea. This legend begins with Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher who, over 2,000 years ago, told the tale in two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. Plato described Atlantis as a vast, thriving empire, a utopia where the land itself seemed to glow with abundance. Concentric rings of land and water surrounded a golden temple, dedicated to Poseidon, the god of the sea. But this perfect world carried a fatal flaw. Over time, the rulers of Atlantis, descended from Poseidon himself, grew greedy and corrupt, consumed by their insatiable thirst for power. They challenged the gods, defied nature, and abandoned the virtues that had made them great. And then, their hubris brought destruction. The earth shook violently. Fire erupted from beneath the oceans. A monstrous wave swept across the land. In a single, cataclysmic moment, Atlantis disappeared beneath the waves, leaving nothing behind but the mystery of what might have been. Was Atlantis real? A warning from history? Or a story meant to teach us timeless lessons about human pride and the fragility of greatness? Even today, its legend calls to us. It awakens something deep within, a yearning to uncover what lies beneath the waves. A hidden truth, waiting to be discovered. Atlantis was more than just a city, it was a masterpiece of civilization. A harmonious blend of innovation, culture, and nature, it stood as the pinnacle of what humanity could achieve. At the heart of its greatness was its design. The Atlanteans carved their capital into concentric rings of land and water, an engineering marvel unmatched in history. Bridges, meticulously constructed from polished stone, connected these rings. Ships glided through canals lined with vibrant gardens, carrying goods from faraway lands. Every corner of the city reflected the Atlanteans' mastery of art, science, and engineering. Beneath the grandeur of its architecture was a society deeply connected to its land. The Atlanteans understood the delicate balance between nature and progress. They cultivated fields using advanced irrigation systems that turned even barren landscapes into lush farmland. Aqueducts carried water not just for survival, but to nourish the beauty of their gardens and fountains, a reminder that prosperity was meant to be shared with nature. But what truly set Atlantis apart was its governance. Laws handed down by Poseidon were the foundation of their society. These laws emphasized fairness, unity, and a collective responsibility to uphold balance. The rulers of Atlantis, chosen from Poseidon's divine lineage, governed not through fear, but through wisdom and example. They encouraged cooperation, innovation, and the pursuit of knowledge. In the bustling markets, merchants traded rare spices, gleaming jewels, and intricate works of art. Scholars gathered in grand halls to debate the mysteries of the cosmos and unlock the secrets of nature. Musicians played melodies that echoed across the city, a constant reminder of the joy and creativity that defined daily life. For the people of Atlantis, utopia wasn't just a word, it was a reality they built and lived each day. They believed their golden age could last forever, that their greatness was eternal. Yet, as history has shown us time and time again, perfection can breed complacency. As their achievements grew, so did their ambitions. But for now, Atlantis stood at its peak, a shining beacon of what humanity could achieve when united in purpose. Was this paradise real, or was it merely a vision of what we yearn to create in our own world? Perhaps the answer lies in the stories we continue to tell, and the lessons we have yet to learn. Beneath the grandeur and splendor of Atlantis lay secrets, hidden truths that only the most discerning could see. To its people, Atlantis was a utopia, a beacon of human achievement. But like the depths of the ocean, not everything visible on the surface told the full story. The Atlanteans had unlocked knowledge far beyond their time. They harnessed energies from the earth, tapped into the stars for navigation, and developed technologies that baffle even the modern mind. Legends speak of crystal power, devices that concentrated natural energy, fueling their cities and innovations. These crystals, said to be placed deep within the temples, radiated light and heat, seemingly defying nature's laws. Yet, with great power comes great responsibility. This knowledge wasn't shared freely, guarded fiercely by a select few, the Council of 12. These rulers, descendants of Poseidon, held the keys to Atlantis's greatest mysteries. They alone knew the truth of the crystals, the advanced systems that sustained the city, and the warning signs of imbalance. But power creates division. Whispers of dissent grew among the lesser nobles, merchants, and even scholars. Why was such knowledge hoarded? Why weren't the secrets of Atlantis shared for the greater good? Beneath the surface of unity, tension began to brew. There were also darker tales, stories of experiments that blurred the line between science and hubris. It said that some Atlanteans sought to harness the forces of nature, bending the will of the earth to their own desires. These experiments yielded marvels but also disasters. Entire fields of crops would wither overnight. Earthquakes would rumble, seemingly without cause, and yet, the council ignored these warnings, dismissing them as mere coincidences. To the outside world, Atlantis was still perfect, a city of wonder and light. But within its walls, cracks were forming. The secrets they buried, the ambitions they fed, they were becoming forces that could no longer be contained. Atlantis thrived, but it did so on borrowed time. Beneath the surface of its glittering utopia, a storm was brewing. And like the ocean it rose from, Atlantis's beauty would prove both magnificent and perilous. Atlantis was a paradise, a world where perfection seemed eternal. But as the years passed, perfection became an illusion. Beneath its glittering surface, the foundation of this utopia began to weaken, not from outside threats, but from within. The Atlanteans, once revered for their humility and wisdom, began to change. Success and abundance bred overconfidence, and overconfidence gave way to hubris. The rulers, who had once governed with fairness and restraint, grew ambitious. They looked beyond their lands, seeing not neighbors but potential subjects. Driven by greed and a hunger for power, the Atlantean Empire began to expand. Armies were assembled, fleets constructed, and lands conquered. What had been a beacon of peace transformed into a growing dominion of control. The conquered whispered of Atlantean cruelty, of cities plundered and cultures erased in the name of progress. But it wasn't just their conquests that revealed the cracks. The Atlanteans' relationship with their land, the balance they had so carefully maintained, began to falter. They drained resources at a rate the earth could no longer replenish. Forests were cut down to fuel their insatiable needs. Mines were dug deeper, extracting every ounce of precious minerals, leaving gaping wounds in the land. The once abundant waters began to recede, and fields that had fed millions turned barren. Even their vaunted technologies began to fail. The crystals that powered their cities grew unstable. Reports of sudden, violent energy bursts became frequent, devastating entire districts. The council dismissed these as isolated incidents, unwilling to face the possibility that their power was slipping out of their control. As the land suffered, so did its people. Factions formed, and loyalty fractured. The commoners, once content in their prosperity, began to question the leaders who demanded so much but offered no answers. Small acts of rebellion, protests, boycotts, sabotage, grew in frequency, like tiny cracks spidering across a perfect mirror. But the greatest act of hubris was yet to come. The rulers of Atlantis, desperate to maintain their glory, turned their gaze to the heavens. They believed they could bend the natural forces of the earth and sky to their will, forging weapons of unimaginable power and unlocking forces they didn't fully understand. Unbeknownst to them, their experiments triggered something ancient and unstoppable, something deep within the earth, awakened by their arrogance. The very ground beneath Atlantis began to tremble, as if warning them of the price of their pride. Atlantis was no longer a utopia. It had become a paradox, a civilization that reached for the divine while ignoring the fragility of its humanity. The cracks of hubris had formed. Soon, they would widen into chasms. Atlantis, a name that conjures images of power, beauty, and tragedy. While its rise is a tale of ambition and ingenuity, it is the story of its fall that resonates through time, echoing across cultures as both a warning and a mystery. The downfall of Atlantis was not due to an external enemy but a self-inflicted collapse. Over generations, its rulers, once guided by wisdom, were consumed by greed and arrogance. The delicate balance between humanity and nature, once their greatest strength, was shattered. They exploited the land, overreached in their conquests, and sought to wield forces beyond their understanding. Plato's account tells of a cataclysmic end. The earth quaked violently, volcanic fire erupted from beneath, and a titanic wave swept across the land. In a single night, Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea, its glory lost forever. But was this story merely an allegory? Or did it preserve the memory of real-world events? Scholars have drawn striking parallels between Atlantis and ancient civilizations. The Minoans of Crete, with their advanced palaces and vibrant culture, were devastated by the eruption of Santorini and the resulting tsunamis. Dwarka, an ancient city submerged off India's coast, aligns eerily with descriptions of a thriving maritime empire swallowed by the sea. Doggerland, a vast landmass once connecting Britain to Europe, was lost to rising seas, leaving only traces of its existence beneath the North Sea. These civilizations remind us of the power of nature, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis that can destroy even the mightiest empires. They also show how stories of loss and resilience can transcend generations, evolving into myths like that of Atlantis. But the enduring appeal of Atlantis is more than its tragedy. It symbolizes human potential, the ability to create utopias, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. It warns us of the consequences of exploiting our environment and ignoring the balance that sustains life. The quest for Atlantis is not just a search for a lost city, it's a reflection of our own humanity. It challenges us to confront our limits and inspires us to dream of what could be. Whether Atlantis was real or imagined, its story endures because it speaks to the deepest parts of us, our curiosity, our fears, and our hopes. As we look to the future, Atlantis remains a mirror to the past, reminding us that greatness is fleeting if not built on respect for the forces that shape our world.